The Meet the Experts series is designed to bring incredible value to the people that show up and that watch afterwards. So we welcome and thank you for participating. Always nice to have the live people on because that means we have some interaction. So please keep in mind, those of you that have joined us live, that you can throw questions into the chat anytime, and absolutely let me know if you're wondering about something or if you're having trouble, if you got a question, and we'll get to those. We'll do a little Q&A at the end with Dr. Natalie. And this is brought to you by the Public Speakers Association. My name is Jason-Antalek, and I am the owner and CEO of the Public Speakers Association, where we are changing the world from the front of the room. And we help speakers in all levels of what they do, expand their reach, refine their craft, find speaking gigs, learn how to apply, and really adapt what they're doing. There's lots of opportunities within the Public Speakers Association, and you can check us out at thepublicspeakersassociation.com. That's Public Speakers with an S, association.com. There's lots of info there, videos about what we do, and you can always get on my calendar to talk about how PSA can fit into your speaking career and advance things for you. Yep. Definitely need to check it out, says Dr. Natalie. She's right. She is one of our PSA members. That's the beauty of being a member, is that you have access to the Meet the Experts series. So we're going to go ahead and get some of this going because we've got some folks here, and we want to honor everybody's time and take a moment just to introduce you to Natalie. She is a CEO and international executive consultant, transformational business and life mentor, corporate leadership, teamwork trainer, keynote speaker, international best-selling author, and just all-around amazing human being. Today, we're going to be talking about leadership. And let me tell you, Natalie kind of takes the leader thing to the next level. Right? She's going to help you revolutionize how you see and do things, and what you view as leadership or diversity or change management, working with teamwork and productivity, retention, getting results and higher profitability, authentic fulfillment, less stress. I mean, she covers the whole thing, right? This is why we have folks like Miss Natalie, Dr. Natalie, on the Meet the Expert series, because it's so much value coming from someone who really knows their stuff. So I'm going to switch this over to the speaker view. So you are ready to go, rock and roll there, Dr. Natalie Forrest. Please take it away.
All right, thank you. Really, seriously, thank you, Jason, and also thank you for everybody who's making the time. I know in these days we have a lot of Zooms, we have a lot of online stuff, and normally I actually wear my glasses to get rid of the glare and everything, not for reading, but just for the blue screen thing. So they're right here, but I always like to look in your faces too. So hello and welcome. I'm excited to be here, and the first thing I'll do is I'll share my screen, and I hope that that's actually going to work, because you never know if it is or isn't. And what I'll do is while I'm sharing the screen, I will try and monitor what is happening in the chat, but please bear with me if I don't get you right away. Okay, so just wanting to put that out of the way. And huge thanks to Jason, huge thanks to the Public Speakers Association. I've been a member for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. I keep losing track of stuff, even though I'm a historian by trade. Not good for me. However, Jason, when he came on board, he's made a lot of really cool changes. Just like, for example, this Meet the Experts. So I'm really grateful, and I think it's a great opportunity, not just for us experts, but for everybody else to just join in, learn a little bit about the Public Speakers Association, and get a lot of really cool tips. I don't know if you saw Chris Salem last week, but that was really cool. So just a heads up on all of that. Now, what I hope to do is get you some nuggets. It's a shorter period of time, so I can't go into all of the details that Jason mentioned, but I'm going to try and give you all I can. And if you have questions, feel free to ask. Jason will just interrupt me if need be. There will be some slides that you'll see a little more often than others. So don't think I made a mistake, even though that might have happened too, but it is because there are recurring themes when we're talking about leadership. And so quick thing about me, Jason already took a lot of the official stuff. How did I come to talk about leadership? I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of people who would think they're leaders, seen a lot of managers. I myself have been in a lot of leadership positions, either right now or in my previous life. And so I have experimented. And whether I talk about leadership or whether I talk about anything else or work with my clients on stuff, it always goes back to what I call the hidden power of patterns, okay? Anything that I deal with has to do with the subconscious mind. And especially when we're talking about things that are established, such as leadership. So when I talk about leadership, one of the main questions is, how do you lead to succeed? And I'm not going to get sidetracked right now by saying you need to define success. That's a conversation for another time. But just in the back of your head now, remember, we all define success differently. So how can we lead to succeed? Does that just mean that we're in a leadership position? We have the title CEO, but where's that going to lead? If we're looking at employees, if we're looking at team members, depending on how big your organization is, maybe you have one, maybe you're the only one, maybe you have two or three. So how are you leading them? And how are you ensuring that everybody is successful? That's really the question here. And there are some very easy ways, and the easy ways usually start with me looking at words. And what do words mean? So first of all, let me enlighten you in case you weren't aware, but I know some of you definitely have heard me say this before. Leadership is not management. Two completely different things. Managing means that you're very task-oriented. And we have to be, right? As a CEO of my own company and of two other companies, I have to be very focused on tasks. But if I'm only task-oriented, will that just lead to marking stuff off? Or will that actually lead to success for everybody involved? That is the question here. And part of the reason why we have about 87% of employees being actively disengaged, retiring early, getting sick a lot, is because what is happening is management. Somebody comes by, says, this is your job description, this is what you need to do right now. Not taking into account the piece that is really, really crucial, that leadership is actually human commitment. If you are really a leader, you are committed to anyone that you are leading, either because you've been put officially in charge or because somehow you ended up in charge. That can happen too. All right. So if you are not committed to every single person on your team, then you're likely not a leader. You're probably a manager. And in order to make clear what I mean, there's one person, first of all, that you need to lead. Even if you are the CEO of your own company and you're the only employee currently. Guess who that is? That's you. You got to lead yourself first. So I'm going to share a couple of just quick tips about leadership and the key to leadership, okay? Feel free to ask questions. Jason will interrupt me, okay? How do you lead to succeed is what we're talking about. And it all starts with, you may not realize it, but detoxing what's in here. So I want you to take a breath or something of that sort. Some of you might be multitasking. I gotcha. All right. So take a breath, however you do it. Put your hands over your heart, over your tummy. Breathe it out. I want you to forget everything that you know about leadership. Okay. With me? Good. Awesome. So how do we lead to succeed? I like to talk actually about building blocks. everything that we do has a couple of building blocks. And if we miss one, everything's going to fall. I think I started using that language when I became CEO of I Do Systems. It's a SaaS company. You know, you start talking a little bit differently that way. So when you're looking about the foundation, the first question you need to ask yourself is, why do you want to lead? The next question is, who do you want to lead? And then, of course, what do you want to lead? And it may sound very simple and straightforward, but a lot of people actually do not ask that question, especially the very first one. Why do you want to lead? If you want to lead because you want to be in the limelight, might not be the right purpose, okay? If you want to lead because you have a passion and you're on a mission, of course, go right for it. And I know most of you that I know personally who are right now here, thank you again, you have a passion. You know why you want to lead. You also pretty much know who you want to lead. If you're a consultant or a coach, you had to niche down, right? So who do you want to lead? But also in life, like, who do you want to lead? Do you want to lead your family? Do you want to lead another group of people in your job? And then what do you want to lead? Really important question. Do you want to lead a movement? Do you want to lead a company? What exactly do you want to lead? So we're talking about the foundation, and then the most important piece right after that, based on the question you just saw, is leadership of self. I love this quote by Robert Greenleaf, who talks a lot about service. And it says, awareness is not a giver of solace. It's just the opposite. It's a disturber and an awakener. So welcome to Leadership Revolutions. Okay, here we are. I'm going to wake you up so that you're actually going to ask some questions. Here are the keys. Lead by example. Lead authentically. If you're trying to copy somebody else, if you're trying to fulfill a leadership role as prescribed, you are probably not going to succeed. In other words, who are you? Crucial question. And a lot of times when we're thinking about leadership, that is not a question we're asking. So when I go into corporate teams, I first ask, who's the leader? And like, what are you doing? Who are you? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? What's back here? What are your patterns? So first thing, don't you love this? I love the orchestra. So I'd ask you to get rid of everything that you knew before. So if you want to lead, if you want to lead an orchestra, you need to turn your back to the crowd. If you wish to succeed, you need to focus inward first. Maybe you want to take that in for a second. That's really crucial, because it's not about, why do I want to lead? I want to make money. It's about, let's take a look. If I want to lead people, I got to just turn inward, and I have to have them follow me. There are a lot of leaders who don't have any followers, and those leaders usually also don't look back. So I want you to clear your mind one more time, okay? Clear your mind. That was just step one. Now, the second part of leadership of self has to do with what I lovingly refer to as the 3 R's, okay? Respect, relationship, recognition, okay? So leadership of self. Do you respect yourself? What's your relationship with yourself? And do you recognize your successes? Do you recognize when you're tired? Do you do self-care? Do you respect yourself enough? And do you know yourself enough, the relationship, that you recognize when you need to take a break? The 3 R's are not just for leadership of self, but they're crucial because everything starts with you. So the 3 R's are kind of crucial. And from there we go to, what's your purpose? Your big purpose that you then narrow down to multiple purposes. What is your potential? You need to embrace your potential, and that will help with your performance. And ultimately, that leads to you living your dream. It's really very nicely sequential. All you have to do is follow the path. So when we're talking about patterns, same old thinking, same old results. What's in here? Why have you been stuck? Why have you not succeeded in every area that you wanted to? Well, maybe not, you're not leading yourself. Maybe the relationship that you have with yourself needs a little bit of extra help. So think about whether you're applying the 3 R's to you, and think about whether you truly know yourself. I often show the yin and yang sign, right? Because it's like we all have dark and light. So we have everything. And by the way, I do not like the color coding on that, but that's a different story. So we have all sides to ourselves. Are we recognizing them? Are we embracing them? So this is what we're facing. We got all this stuff going on. And it doesn't even show you right now what's going on in the back of your head because we haven't had time to get there. What are all the things that you're working on? I know some of you are working in more than one position, just like myself. So if you have more than one position, and if you're also trying to have a life, what is all this stuff that you're dealing with? What are all the distractions? Like, where are you going to take this thing? What is going to happen? Well, you need to clear everything out. You need to make time for yourself. Again, you need to respect yourself. You need to have a relationship with yourself. And you need to recognize time out. A friend of mine just posted on Facebook, oh, I've been gone for a little bit. I'm still alive. I needed a break. Awesome. Okay? So if we go from there, let's look to the teams. How do I lead team? And that should have been the number 2, actually. So how do I lead the team? Same thing. Respect, relationship, recognition. Now, the key here is that it's not just the team. It's every individual on the team. And remember, you are a member of the team. And if you're leading a team, that also means that every single person might at one point or another have a great idea and that they might take the lead. But you don't know that if you manage them. So respect, relation, and recognition of your team members takes on another level. It actually means that you know their names, you know their family stuff, you know their strengths, weaknesses. In a smaller team, that's easier. In a big team, it often ends up being management. So I, for example, try and check in with all the people that I'm supposedly leading. Sometimes I just send a text message saying, hey, how you doing? Sometimes I call them up. I send them a WhatsApp if they're in Spain or wherever they may be. And I just check in. And the other day I felt really bad because one person was telling me, oh, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I didn't even react to it. I was like, there's a lot of stuff going on. I'm like, okay, did you get this done though? I'm like, okay, that was not cool. I had missed a step in there. So I turned around and said, I'm so sorry. Stuff is going on. Are you okay? Now that person feels that they can trust me. And you may remember that Chris was talking about being a trusted advisor, right? So think about it. That's how it goes. You need to know the members of your team. One of my books talks about that. You can't just be walking by. You need to know your team members or they are going to be disengaged. And if you don't know that one of your team members in your team of 3 is really, really bad at timing stuff, and all emails they send out are really, really late, you might want to see if you can help them somehow, okay? So the questions when you build your team are, what do you need? Who do you need? How can you make that happen? And what sequence do I follow? The sequence relates to the building blocks, okay? So what do you need? What are the tasks that you don't want to do? Please remember, if you are a CEO of your own company, you outsource some stuff. Okay, like I outsource accounting. I don't want to deal with it. I just don't, okay? So I have somebody who does my accounting. Maybe you have a social media person. All of those, even if you just pay them someplace, they're your team members. They can help you succeed or they can help you remain stuck. So what are the tasks you need to fulfill, and who do you need? The who is not just somebody who's an expert. It's like, what type of person do you need? This is the piece that is often lost in big organizations. People apply for a job and then they just get the job. They don't even, if you've ever written a resume, we can tweak a lot of stuff to get a job. So look at it this way. Who do you need? You need to interview people and see if they really fit. Are they willing to talk to you? Are they willing to admit when they have an issue with a task? Are they willing to ask you a question? What type of environment do you want to have? And then how can you make that happen? Are you going to go on some kind of online site, or are you going to ask for referrals? And what's the sequence in which you make that happen? And that last part here is also very simple, right? Write down what you need, write down what atmosphere in your team you want, and then reach out to people. I mean, that's not that hard, okay? Now, when we're talking about this, though, going back to the earlier idea of how do you lead a team? I love this. Maybe it's just because my daughter's in love with wolves. However, this is really cool. And we can see that in a lot of other animals too, by the way. You probably have seen this before. If not, yay. Okay. So wolves, how do wolves lead? This first group here, those were actually the young ones, the ones who are getting ready to explore. They are the strongest physically. Okay, they're like going up there and they're leading the way. They're trying to figure out, do we go left? Do we go right? In the middle right there are the weaker ones, the older ones, the ones who may have a broken leg, the ones who may not be able to see. I mean, whatever those weaker areas are, okay? They're right there so that they can help set the pace. The three up front are going to have to make sure that everybody follows. This group in orange, those are the guys who, if they get weak, they're going to say, whoa, need to take a break. And where do you think the leader is? That's like the best part. Yay! All the way in the back, right? Making sure that his team is doing all right. Going back to one of the earlier questions, right? Why do you want to lead? If you want the limelight, then you might not be a leader. You might be a manager who just wants the limelight. There's nothing wrong with wanting the limelight. You might just not be a leader in the sense that I define it. And after that, you got those steps all lined up. Every single day, you need to reflect on this. I just shared with you that I messed up the other day, right? I completely messed up. I'm like, oh my God. And then I remembered something with the same person. A few days later, I then remembered he had said something. I'm like, okay, let me check in on him. And I just went and I said, hey, did you get that? And he's like, oh yeah, thanks so much for asking. That's that relationship, that respect. I know you have other stuff going on. I won't say that I succeed all the time with it, but I'm getting better. I'm getting better. And sometimes I also get distracted. So the constant reflection is crucial. The question might be, how do you constantly reflect? Well, I personally have a certain routine that works for me. Starts with meditation in the morning and ends with, for sure, journaling in the evening. Now, during the day, because, of my intuition and energy healing side, I try to take time out too for little things that make me feel special. Whether it's another 5-minute meditation, whether it is my cafe latte in a cup that my daughter gave me that says mom on it, whatever gives me the feeling of, okay, I have to center myself. Let me reflect for a moment. Really crucial. You need to make time throughout the day for that. Otherwise, you just keep running. Okay? That's my routine. For some other people, it might be walking a mile or exercising. That's not me. Okay? I do yoga when I have time. Your daily interactions are your first point of reflection. The ones with yourself and also the routines that you have. Like, when are you on autopilot? Do you just get in the car to drive to store X? Don't want to name any names. And you find yourself in front of your office building? It's like, whoa, what just happened? Or I know Sherry posted this earlier on Facebook, and it's something that I always bring up when I talk to clients. It's like, when you wake up in the morning and you see rain outside, what's the first thing you tell yourself? Like, what's that pattern in the back of your head? And a lot of people, when they see rain, they go, oh, it's going to rain. I'm going to get muddy. It's just not cool. They go down that negative road. While, I think about An American in Paris, or I think about, wow, more green stuff coming up. Okay. And this also means self-talk. Again, the routine very early in the morning before I get out of bed. I talk to myself. I talk to myself a lot, but early in the morning, I also talk to myself. Before I even open my eyes, I make sure that I say something nice, something positive, such as, good morning, such as, it's going to be a great day. What can we accomplish today? That way, if I get up and then I step on a toy, I'm still okay because I already set the atmosphere as being positive. Okay? Self-talk is crucial. Observe how you talk to yourself, please. We got to detox our mind from some of those automatic things we say. Very good example for that. When you drop something, let's say, you have a cup of coffee or your cup of tea or your smoothie, you pick it up and you drop it. What do you say to yourself? I gotcha. A lot of us will go, I'm so stupid. Ooh, that hurts. We can't do that. Are you really stupid? Or was that a stupid action? That's where the self-talk comes in. That's where you got to figure out, why am I talking to myself like this? Why am I doing that? I'm not respecting myself if I call myself stupid. Do I want somebody else to call me stupid? No. So going back to the relationship that you have with yourself, okay? However, all of these things back here, the way that you talk to yourself, all of those have a certain power over you, which is why I talk about the hidden power of patterns so much. The little things that you're not even fully aware of. That's what I love working on. That's why I say, let's detox your mind. We need to get it out. I mean, I share a lot of stories about how I realize stuff that is in my head in my books. It's like, duh, I thought it was a good thing, but it's apparently not because it's holding me back. There's a lot of that. And the last thing on this slide says support network. You gotta find people that listen to you, that you can trust. It's not like followers and leaders, but you gotta be able to trust them somehow. It's great if those are your family members. Experience says not always, because your family members love you the way that you are. Just a heads up. So find some other kind of group. So if you really want to have things, want to accomplish things, okay, you got to treasure what you have and you got to figure out what you have. You got to figure out what you have and you got to treasure what you have. Gratitude, so important. So important to be grateful every single day for what you have. Okay? Talk nicely to yourself because you are the one thing that you have. Respect yourself and get in a good relationship with yourself. And then the other thing that I highly recommend in this is that you define the word leader. So if you have something to write it down. Whatever comes to your mind. L, for me, that means loving. E, for me, means empowering. A might mean acknowledging. D, ooh, daring. I dare my team members to do stuff they don't think they can do. E, I don't know, engaging. Talk to them. R, well, that's sort of easy for me, right? Just like revolutionize. Okay? But think about, what do those words mean to you? If you had to put a word next to each letter, what would that be? And once you do that, will you follow that? and have it in front of you all the time when you're trying to lead and working to lead people. I often try not to use the word try. That's a different story in itself too. So, building blocks for success when it comes to leadership. Look at that. Self-love, self-knowledge, self-respect, self-confidence. That leads to leadership and success. It all starts here. So we need to detox our mind. We need to clear all that stuff out of our mind that leadership comes natural. I mean, for some people, yes, but they also work on it every single day. You don't lead by a position. You lead by the respect that you earn for that position. And one thing that I have learned is that true leaders rarely choose to lead, and therefore they are brilliant at it. So if you take that in for a moment, if somebody screams, I want to lead, why do they want to lead? Are they interested in the team? Do they respect every team member? Leadership of self means that you're self-loving, self-knowing, and self-confident. When you are that type of leader, you can say, I don't know. You can ask other people to take the lead. And therefore, your personal confidence will inspire and empower others. And all of a sudden, your whole team is made up of all of these super beings that bring everybody success. Leadership of self also means leadership of teams, as I said, and it does mean leadership of business. So if you're a CEO, of your own company, if you are a manager position, or if you are a CEO of a big corporation, it still all starts with you. Sorry to break it to you, but the work starts here. And only that leads to success, and you will have to define success. And if you go further than that, your life and your business are intertwined. That's why it all starts with you. So what do you need to be happy? If you're not happy at home, can you be a happy leader? Can you listen to people? If you don't know how to make your life sustainable, you've got everything lined up, can you have a sustainable business? How can you make all that happen? Again, it all starts with you. And in all these instances, that support network starts also to lead in the direction of get a mentor. Just have to throw that in. Okay. We can't do it alone. I didn't do it alone. Okay. Now I do want to mention that there is a Detox Your Mind webinar that I'm doing. Okay. But I'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, I want to make clear that the way I see leadership from yourself means that all the work is here. All the work is here. And then you take it out in the world. And every single day, you reflect. Because we do live in this world. And living in this world means that there's a lot of stuff happening. Like this past week and a half, I've been dealing with a cat emergency. That may sound crazy to some people, but that distracted me from stuff. I was still doing it, but I wasn't doing it as focused as I would have wanted to. Now, I couldn't avoid that emergency, but I need to reflect. Who did I treat which way? Do I need to apologize to somebody because I let them fall off the wagon or I didn't make the appointment or something? So if you want to be a successful leader, if you feel that urge within you, then please know that all you have to do is take one step into going within first. That is what I call the one step to freedom. Okay? It works in life and business everywhere. It all starts here. It all starts with what is in the back of your mind. I hope that makes sense. I can't emphasize that enough. So that means you might need a new flexible routine, and for that you need to have some ideas. Okay? So if thus far you realize that your self-talk hasn't been that good, how can you change that? Do you have any ideas? I want you to seriously think about that right now so that you can write these things down, because they are directly related to why you may not have gotten to where you want to go. I hope that makes sense. because maybe you are following what we've been trained to do, and that means we've been following looking at others instead of ourselves. So we're always first and foremost accountable for ourselves. I learned that. Okay. I could scream at people too, but that doesn't help me and it doesn't help them. So why are they upset and why am I a success? So if you have any ideas, please feel free to share them. And I do want to mention a couple of action steps for you. Hold on. I'm going to skip through that. That's not that important. I want you to write down some action steps. Number one, and this is not on here, define the word leader for you. Very, very important. Okay, what does it mean and what are the individual letters? You may also want to sign up for a detox webinar that I'm offering. And yes, it's free to all the PSA members. And if you have any questions about what I said that I won't be able to answer here because you may watch this later, please, follow up with me. Absolutely. Those are all the things I want to mention. July 9th at 3 p.m. is the Detox Your Mind or Clear the Clutter webinar that I'm gladly putting on because that is where it all starts. Detox that, and leadership of life, leadership of business, leadership of teams, and the success however you want it is possible. And that, I have found out, is the only way in which you can actually live your life your way instead of anybody else's. And I think I'll stop at that. I have no idea how long I went here. I'll stop at that sharing, and I'll see. I noticed a couple of pop-ups.
Yes, I got you covered. I got you covered. So one of the questions came up when you were showing the slide with the wolves.
Yes.
And it's kind of two parts, weighing in on the nature versus nurture in leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And someone pointed out too that the statistics indicate that roughly about 60% of new millennial leaders are on the path to failure, and often within the first year. So why and how do we turn that around?
Oh, I love that question. Okay. I have not seen the statistics about the millennials. At the same time, I need to weigh what I'm saying because I know a lot of millennials who are very successful. I think there is a fatigue within millennials of being bombarded with so much stuff that they're trying to figure it out by themselves. And I think that to me is key. I don't want to go with some of the myth, they don't do this well, because they care about stuff. I mean, they're the first ones who will buy an extra expensive pair of shoes because it means somebody else gets one too. Okay. But I think they're so fed up, so fatigued with the bombardment of social media, of people just trying to sell you stuff, of people being inauthentic, that they're really trying to figure out how can I do it differently. And by that, I think they tend to hesitate to ask for help. Now, I have no evidence of that, but that's how I see it, given the ones that I know. Okay, I do know that they're looking for authentic people that they can trust. Best example I have for that is one of the millennials that I know that is very successful, very smart young lady. She mentioned to me about Instagram, that Instagram is much bigger for millennials, but only the ones where people are actually honest. And I will never forget when I broke my foot, I think my toe 2 years ago or something. I took a picture of my foot in a shoe. I never had that many likes before on Instagram. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. But I wasn't just sharing, stuff, oh, I'm traveling here, I'm traveling there, and being inauthentic. So I think that to me would be a really important aspect, that they're just tired of all the in this world. Okay. I hope that answers the question. I think so. Yeah.
Yes. That was more than sufficient. Yes. Okay. Love it.
Okay.
We're sticking up for the millennials a little bit. I like that.
Well,
so another question is, do leaders have do they have to crash and burn before they're open to change? And is there a way to deter the train wreck of failed leadership before it actually happens?
Yes, yes, yes.
That was easy.
No, I should say no, yes, yes, yes. So I don't think you have to crash and burn first. A lot of people do, especially the ones who think that they are born leaders. I think that's why it's so important to understand that if you don't lead yourself, you're not going to lead anybody else. And it doesn't also matter if you lead 10 people or 10,000. There are a lot of people who just follow you because it looks good, right? I mean, like following people on Facebook. Oh, so-and-so follows so-and-so, I will follow too. So I don't think you necessarily have to crash and burn, but you definitely have to learn your lessons. Failing forward or understanding that everything is a lesson. I personally don't use the word failure. I believe, if I learn from it, it's a good thing. So being able to reflect, I think that is the most important skill of a leader, to me. And we can always turn the ship around if we help people, guide people, awaken people to the need to reflect. That's what we do when we go into corporations and change their leadership styles and their team building approaches. So it is absolutely possible. You just, especially in bigger corporations, sometimes have to find a way in. And the same goes with individuals. Not everybody's right away willing to listen. I think the environment that we're in right now, more people are willing to listen. Oh, yeah, I like that.
All right.
Okay.
And I plugged in there and asked a couple of people to lay out what leader would be for them.
Yeah.
We had some participation there. Listen, empathy, acknowledge, dream big, educate, and respect.
Awesome.
I think I would change my R to reflect.
Yeah.
You just shared, because I think that might have been what I was sort of reaching for there.
Mm-hmm.
Love, engage, acknowledge, drive, educate, and relate.
Yes.
I think it's neat how everybody has their own take on that, right? I think that's a really amazing exercise and something as a leader worth coming back to, because how has your style changed? How has your focus changed? How have you changed as a leader? Because that's part of what you do, right? That's a beautiful thing.
And the other thing is, we need to define everything for ourselves anyhow, if we want to be authentic. You need to define the word success. You need to define your goals. You can't define success by somebody else's likes and dislikes. And the same for leader. Just because you don't like that leader, you don't like this leader, it doesn't matter. How would you want to lead? There are a bunch of leaders that I think, historically speaking, the historian is coming out, were really not good people, but they still led millions of people. So, how do you look at it that way? Yeah. All right. Yeah.
I think we've wrapped up our Q&A portion there. We had some questions come in along the way, so thanks for addressing those, Dr. Natalie. As always, a pleasure to hear you present and to hear your point of view and how you address things. You definitely gave me a couple of great things to think about. I really appreciate the presentation. And for you, you got a couple of folks saying thanks for sharing your time and your expertise. I reposted a couple of times in the chat the link for signing up for the webinar or the Detox Your Mind.
Yes.
One of the greatest things that Dr. Natalie handed to me was the mind flex instead of the mindset. Yeah. And now every time I see the word mindset, I address it differently. It was just such an easy transition, and now it stands out to me. And we met on purpose, which is why in the presentation, Dr. Natalie started giggling when she talked about purpose, because our beliefs kind of converged, and both of us are now giggling every time it comes up. Purpose is singular and plural at the same time, right?
Absolutely.
But Dr. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and lining up this amazing opportunity for people to get to know more about you. Where else can people find you? What's the best way to get to you?
You know, Facebook, my website, natalieforce.com, which is being rebuilt right now, but my website, and I'm everywhere on social media under my name. So I'm pretty easy to find.
It's true.
I try to respond to everybody. Okay. So absolutely. If you've got questions, please. Yes.
And take the time to go ahead and sign up for that amazing Detox Your Mind. If anything that Dr. Natalie has shared with you has resonated, then you're on the right track, and it's absolutely worth spending your time with her. So hopefully some people will take advantage of that very generous opportunity, having taken part in the Meet the Experts webinar for this time around. Once again, on behalf of the Public Speakers Association, our attendees, and everyone who watches the replay at some point or someplace, Dr. Natalie, thank you so much for sharing your value and knowledge with us.
Well, thank you, Jason. And again, thank you for everybody who participated, who made the time, and thank you for everybody who's making the time later on to watch the replay. Really appreciate it.
Well, that's going to wrap up this version of the Meet the Experts, brought to you by the Public Speakers Association. Everyone have an amazing rest of your day, evening, or morning. And you can always reach out to us in whatever channels. We are happy to help in any way that we can.